Uh, I'm watching a Star Talk by Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it is what are we replacing the ISS with Ariel Ekblah. And I heard him talk about they're going to deorbit the ISS, which they do. Deorbiting is a standard thing they always do with well, satellites and pretty much everything else. They were just casually talking about deorbiting the ISS into the ocean. Like, yeah, just throw it into the Earth's toilet bowl. I don't know. Hold on a second. Let me just re-listen to that because I was listening to it while I was playing a video game, so maybe I didn't quite catch it correctly. Hold on a second. Okay, so it sounds like I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding this. It does sound like they're going to deorbit it. I don't know if they're going to partially disassemble it and then deorbit it in stages, or not, because the way that thing looks, the way it does not look like if they do it all at once, it's going to just be a mess or what. But and they cited China doing some, you know, doing theirs in a bad way. Um, so yeah, I'm just like, okay, isn't this just, you know, why don't we just stop doing this? I mean, if you're going to go through the hassle of building a more advanced space station, which is, by the way, you're going to plan on this space station being a kind of a docking hub for uh, going further out, going into the moon, going to the moon, maybe even going to Mars, going to wherever the hell you end up going to. And I submit that possibly you can. Why don't we? Why don't we use it as use the ISS as a use this as an opportunity to test out a different way of disposing space garbage and try to disassemble and repackage it, and then um, do something like send it on a trajectory, say into the sun or something like that, instead of deorbiting it into Earth. Because, you know, they send things on orbit, on trajectories to go to, they've done it to Mars, to moons in the solar system and all that. So why can't you figure out a way to, you know, pull it out of the gravity of Earth, you know, use one of, Tesla's later rockets use one of your other rockets once they've gotten them to the hub. You know, and you don't have to use one of the giant rockets because you're packaging them up in a series of 50, 60, 100 parcels. Dozens upon dozens of stages. And like I said, it's just use it as a test scenario to see not the feasibility, really. It's like an experiment because you first have to see how to do it, right? And this is the thing the government does, to see how to do it, Neil, right? How do you do this, right? And then you see, how do you do it just a little bit bigger? How do you do it just a little bit bigger? And then you can do it more and more, and then hopefully by that point, capitalism will be defeated on Earth, and we won't have capitalists dumping billions of tons of garbage every day into the sun, which I really don't want to. I really don't want to get to that point of humanity just throwing every bit of trash into the sun. I don't even think that would be feasible, by the way. But I think it would be nice if we could drag up all the space garbage that's up there, scoop it up, and do something better with it than, well, just have a plan for it. And what better plan for it than autonomous solar vehicles, grabbing it up and putting it into high Earth orbit, a high Earth orbit collection facility, and where it gets periodically, again, dumped into the sun, just to use a placeholder, and whatever. Of course, it'd be better to send into the high Earth orbit recycling facility, but whatever. All of that it's just an evolution of what can be done with these things. So, yeah. Why just keep polluting the earth with more and more shit when something better can be done if you just apply this to the problem? Yeah, I don't really have much to say about this. It's just an interesting thing to watch, listen to. And I'm bored. I'm not bored by the video. I mean, just whatever. Um, Bored waking up. That's what I mean. It just turned 9 a.m. Ooh, all right. Crap. Okay, now they're talking about data centers in space. Okay, I want to get on that because I want to talk about that because that's something that they're like, oh, how do we cool them and blah blah blah. It's like I'm just like, okay, well, you generate power with the solar, power the data centers, and the data centers make heat, and they're like, what do you do with the heat? How do you cool them with the heat that's made? You got to cool them down. It's like I'm just can't they cool it down with I don't know. I'm not saying do it with a fluid, but if you did it with some kind of circular fluid, not water, but let's just say water, right? You would have to bring water, like if you had the data center on the moon. Actually, I don't think you would have to bring water because I think there is water on the moon. But so if you use water, you cool it with water, and then couldn't you couldn't you also then use the hot water that cyclical system also then to generate some electricity? I mean, it wouldn't be. I mean, wouldn't that also just not be a problem? Wouldn't it also be part of kind of the solution then too? I mean, aren't these people kind of looking at this the wrong way? Looking at the heat from basically what I'm saying, the heat generated from the data center, isn't that kind of a good thing? And maybe even not just that, but like maybe build data centers on Mars, right? And this is even wilder. Use the heat from there. You heat the heat from the data centers um, as part of the what's it called? As part of the um, environmental engineering project that you might want to undertake. part of the terraforming project. I realized the data center, any data center you build on Mars wouldn't be like a, it wouldn't be a data center that would be like for um, conventional use on Earth per se, at least until we can um, figure out how to communicate at faster than light speeds, which I don't know why we're not working on that. But, but Mars-based data centers could be, you know, longer term storage for information backups, stuff like that, which I'm sure there are, you know, that's what some are used for. Some data centers are longer term storage and not like AI data centers. Even a data center on the moon would have a certain latency that may be unacceptable. I mean, why do you think they're building so many on the surface of Earth? Yeah, that's my point. That was my point. The heat from it may not be a problem. Maybe a benefit. I don't know. I don't know exactly how to explain it. I'm not a person, an engineer, uh, someone with the requisite technical knowledge, maybe better at thinking through of how to use it. You know, because concentrated solar plants, they heat stuff up, and the molten salt is used to generate electricity. It's kind of like that. Use the heat to heat up molten salt. Kind of thing. Something like that. Whatever. So I don't know, but she may have just said what I was talking about right there. I don't know. I'm not the best at articulating technical garbage because I just don't know. I don't have the education necessary to have the jargon and blah blah. Spit it out on the fly most of the time. So, whatever. And they just briefly talked about Mars and living there and stuff. Mars would have to be massively terraformed. And terraformed in a way that humanity just isn't capable of doing. Because the core of Mars would have to be enhanced. At least I would prefer the core of Mars to be enhanced. And how do you do that? One, and once you do that, you're talking about essentially tripling the mass of Mars, which means you're possibly, now I don't know this for sure, but it seems like once you do that, you're altering the long term, possibly even short term, the stability, whatever, of this solar system and probably the orbital paths of every planet. So, if there are people up there that have a program capable of doing it, have a computer program capable of doing it, maybe I had to throw my thing away and check for schnibbles on the floor. The program capable of doing it, why don't you just be like, type it into your computer program and be like, just change the mass of Mars. And make it so that Mars is exactly the same diameter and blah and everything, but it's, I don't know, 98% the mass of Earth, something like that. And everything else in the solar system is the same. That would be extremely difficult to do. It means essentially you have to pull matter from outside of the solar system. Which we just wouldn't be doing. We'd probably be finding a large iron predominant asteroid somewhere in the whatever asteroid belt and drag it and get it into the core of Mars without totally destroying Mars. See, this is why I say this would be an undertaking that's beyond human capabilities for now. Why would you even want to do that? There would be so many knock-on, so many just downstream effects of something like that. Yeah, it's not worth doing. The only reason that would be worth doing or whatever is just to see if you could do it without any of that garbage I said before. Just to make it, just to try and make it inhabitable for life of some kind, not for human life. Just to be like, let's see if we can turn it into some kind of biosphere of some kind. Just because. You know, just, just because just because, like, whatever. For the lulls kind of situation. But, like, I mean, again, that kind of seems like something that, like, you would have to convince, like, a lot of people to do. And, like, why you're gonna, like, get a group of buddies like, dude, let's see if we can terraform the planet over the weekend. It's like, again, that's like a 300 years into the future kind of thing. Like, dude, I got my dad got me the spaceship for, like, let's see if we can, like, party and, like, make Mars great again. I don't know. Okay, well, that's the end of that one. I don't feel like talking about it anymore. This is a good video to watch. I think if I remember correctly, at some point in there, uh, my boxers were shown. Oops. Tax rich and you kept rich. Tax wealth not work. Oops.